This webinar is hosted by the Marketing Peer Network and sponsored by Wells Fargo. Before we get started, I'm just going to share a few updates from Together SC. If you have not already, let's see, please join the Marketing Peer Network and the discussion group. There's a lot of conversations going on. I'm going to put the link in the chat so you can join, and you can learn a little bit more here about the Marketing Peer Network and how to get involved. There's links on the side for the discussion group and find out what events we have coming up. And you can also meet and greet our leadership team members. So I'm going to give them a shout out right now. Thank you guys. Also, I want to share our knowledge calendar. I'm going to put that link in the chat as well. We have a lot of great events coming up. One that I'm extremely excited about is our storytelling workshop that just became live today. This will be a half-day event and workshop, hands-on. We'll have a wonderful keynote, Missy Schaefer. We'll have an interactive storytelling workshop, a group of panelists that are just experts and seasoned marketing experts. We'll also have a really fun mindfulness practice from Elevator and Kim Fabian. So I'm really excited about this workshop coming up in November. So please put that on your calendar and register soon. And with that, I would like to introduce our speaker today, Todd Vigil, a seasoned art and nonprofit marketing executive. He's going to walk us through three easy steps to set up your Google Ads campaign. And here we go. And I'm going to pass my mic over to Todd. I'm going to stop sharing. Here we go. Welcome, Todd.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning for me. I'm in Phoenix, zooming in. So thanks for having me, and thanks for the invite, Brooke and Together SC team. Yeah, we're going to go through and try to demystify at least a little bit of the Google Ad Grant for you today and show you some tricks on how to just do a basic strategy. So I'm going to jump right in, and we'll have plenty of time for questions and conversation at the end. So let me just do a quick screen share here, and we'll be off. All right. Oh, here comes Lizzie. That's good. Well, good afternoon. As we're going to talk about securing. So I will guide you through the very simple direction on how to get started. If you have not applied for the grant, we'll do that. And then we're going to spend most of the time actually in a live account with one of the Together SC members, which we'll get to in a second, and actually go through and set up two different kind of campaign structures and go from there. So just quickly, a little bit of background for me. So I have been in your shoes. I've been in nonprofit marketing for 12 plus years. I've worked for the Phoenix Symphony for a long time. I was their head of marketing for 7 years and led a really digital transformation there. We moved all of our marketing for single tickets to digital marketing and saw amazing results. I have a whole nother talk on that. We can give some other time, but I also spent some time at the Heard Museum, which is the largest private Native American art museum in the country. Spent 2 years there. I also recently left Barrow Neurological Foundation. I did about 2 years in healthcare and really enjoyed that. But then this opportunity in going out on my own started to come up. I also teach and I'm on the council, the leadership council for the Arizona State University's Lodestar Center, which is their philanthropic arm of of that. So they have a bunch of resources. If you've never checked them out, I would also recommend checking them out as well. And then the reason I tell you all of this is, one, because I have been in your shoes and I know how busy you are and how resource strapped you are and all of the typical nonprofit things. But two, because of this, I'd always felt with all of these organizations you see on the screen, I've always been in a place of privilege and been able to use the Google Ad Grant with a full service marketing agency. And I know that a lot of nonprofits just can't afford that. You know, they can't pay the $2,000 to $10,000 a month in a retainer fee for an agency. And if you can't afford it, I highly recommend you do that. They're often, you know, with a good agency, they're well worth the money, but I also know the money is not always there. So like many others during COVID, I took an idea that had been in my head and put it to paper. And I founded a company called Ely Hub. And we work exclusively with nonprofits, typically small to mid-sized nonprofits. And we help take over the Google grant for them and manage it for a low monthly fee as opposed to a full service agency. So I'll go into a little bit at the end on kind of what our services are, but I do get to show you my commercial because I invested in a commercial, so I wanted to share it. But we do have a short little animated spot that I think you'll like. So we'll let that play now.
As a nonprofit professional, you may be aware of Google's free advertising program, the Google Ad Grant, which provides up to $10,000 monthly in free Google ads. But you're probably not taking full advantage of it because you lack the time, money, or skills to manage these ads effectively. Now you can accelerate your impact with Ely Hub's simple and cost-effective solution, professional ad management services for Google's Ad Grant program at a low monthly rate. For more information, visit elyhub.com or scan the QR code.
Thanks for bearing with me on that. So just as an overview, if you don't know much about the Google grant, do not feel bad. I talk to a lot of nonprofits. I go to a lot of conferences. I was at your conference in February. And I would say half the people I talk to in the nonprofit space don't even know the program exists. So if that is you, do not feel bad. You are not in the minority. And those of you that do know about it, if you're on this call, you're likely in, one of a couple of buckets, which is, you probably knew about it and just never knew how to get started, or you started it and that person left, or you just didn't get results. So you realized you had better things to do with your time, and whatnot. So for those of you who don't know about it, the Google Grant is a program that's been around for over 21 years. It was launched in 2003 by Google, and they give most nonprofits up to $10,000 a month in free advertising. There's a few exceptions, which we can get into in the questions and answers. But the Google Grant, for those of you on the fundraising side, it is the easiest grant you will ever apply for. It is a very simple application process, which I'm going to point you to in a minute. It breaks down to $330 a day, roughly, that they give you in free advertising. There's no actual cash that changes hands. It is an in-kind donation, and it can be booked as in-kind. There is opportunity to grow. I'm going to show you a really simple 2-campaign structure that I think is highly effective for most nonprofits. And then lastly, Google does have a pretty decent, once you get ads up and running, there's a Google Ads platform that you can log into or download the app and help maintain your ads kind of on the fly. So we're going to talk about that. We won't go into it too much today, but I will show it to you and kind of some things to look at as well. We're going to go through, this should be about 20 to 25 minutes of me kind of showing you an account and building some ads live. And then we'll have plenty of time for that conversation. So if you do have questions, feel free to start putting them in the chat now so you don't forget, and we'll scroll through those, but I'll hold the questions till the end and we'll get to those. So just again, quickly, a couple of things. To apply for the Google grant, it's really easy. You can literally Google Google Ad Grant and it should come up, or here's the direct link. It is part of Google for Nonprofits. So Google for Nonprofits is the parent program, and there's 4 components to Google for Nonprofits. One is Google Workspace. So you actually can get free Gmail emails and some storage through this program. The second part is the Google Ad Grant, which is where I specialize and we're talk about. There's also YouTube. There's some benefits to your YouTube channel. And I'm missing one. Google, I think it's Google My Business, some enhanced things on Google My Business. But it's a very simple application process. I don't even think you have to upload your 501c3 letter anymore. They do it through TechSoup. But it's a really easy application process. So if you don't have it, go to that link and you can submit that. The Google for Nonprofit process does take up to 2 weeks-ish, we see sometimes. And then to activate the Google grant is a second step, which is also very simple. And if you get stuck, it's all pretty easy, but if you get stuck, feel free to email me. We're always happy to help nonprofits get access to this program. A couple of things, you do have to be a 501c3, so 501c4s are not eligible. There are some exceptions around typically higher education and healthcare, being hospitals. But my recommendation is if you have a 501c3, apply. Most of you are going to get approved, and there are exceptions in both the education and the healthcare scenarios. So for example, at Barrow Neurological, the hospital itself was not eligible for the grant, even though it was a nonprofit, but the foundation that I worked for was. You do have to have a decent website. By decent, that means it should pass minimum speed test results and be relatively easy to navigate. Again, don't hold up because you think your website's not going to get approved. I would definitely apply, and then if it comes back as an issue, which we do see from time to time, fairly rare, but we do see it from time to time, it'll kick back and say your website doesn't meet our standards, and then you can go from there. Again, feel free to reach out to us with questions. So that's easy. The easy step is applying. If you already have it, great, you're already there. If you don't, you can start this application process right away. And again, it usually only takes about 2 weeks. Thank you, Brooke, for throwing that in there. Good idea. So step 2, which is where we're going to spend most of our time today, is we're going to walk you through a simple 3-campaign structure. And this is a structure that my company developed. It's not proprietary. It's not anything special. It's just a strategy that we have found is highly effective for nonprofits. It's very efficient. It won't take a ton of time to manage. Are you doing everything that you could be doing in Google Ads? No. But if you were to do this, it's a good start in there. And then I do have to thank Lizzie, who is on the call. She's with the Somerville Orchestra, brand new in her job, but she has graciously given me access to her account, and we're going to build some campaigns for her. And as a thank you, my team will go in and fully set them up for them. So they'll actually walk away from this webinar with 2 fully functioning campaigns and at no charge from us. So thank you, Lizzie, for being on the call, and thank you for letting us do this. So I think I need to switch my screen share here. Give me just a second. Yep. Okay, so we are now in a live account. This is the Somerville Orchestra. Believe it or not, we have another orchestra client in South Carolina, even though an Arizona company. We work with the Spartanburg Philharmonic, and we also work with the Center Stage Theater, also in Somerville. So I thought this was a good fit to use an example. So this is a live account. If all of you were to log in, you would see something very similar to your account. This is their account. They have used it in the past. I will show you this here briefly. So they have used the grant in the past, but those ads were turned off at some point. Either they have passed or they just stopped using it, which is okay. We're going to build a new today. So I'm going to come back to this in a little bit, probably with a different account, so I can show you some stuff. But we're going to build 2 campaigns for Lizzie and the Somerville team today. And the first one's going to be the easy of the 2, and that is a dynamic campaign. Dynamic campaigns are highly automated. You're going to see why in just a minute. Google is going to use the content that's already on Somerville Orchestra's page to create ads that it thinks are going to work for people. For some of our clients, this is the #1 ad. It works great, and it's awesome. And I think this is the way of the future. I think this will get easier over time as AI and automation roll out. That said, the accounts that typically do well are ones that are really content rich. They have a lot of content. They have a lot of words, written words, really relevant content, because that's how Google works. So we're going to jump in and build this. So I'm going to go in and click New Campaign. To start, I would just start with website traffic. There are other things you can do for sales and leads. If you were in a, let's say you were a Big Brothers Big Sisters chapter, which we work with a couple of those, and you wanted enrollments to come through for requests to be a big, or to submit a child's inquiry, you could do these lead forms. And I'll give you some resources at the end to kind of, when you're ready to grow beyond the kind of this simple structure, you can. So we're going to click website traffic. I'm going to address conversions later. Conversions are really important. So we're not going to spend time on them today because it involves additional coding for Somerville and some things, but you will want to spend time on this. I do talk about it at the end. They do have one set up here, though I think we need to fix it. But a conversion is any action on the website. And that would be as simple as a page view. But typically we try to focus on more advanced ones like individual button clicks. So for Somerville, things like buy tickets or subscribe now or donate. Those kinds of things are what we would want to set up for them. And my team will set those up for Lizzie after the fact. So they walk away with a fully functioning account, but we won't do that on the call today because we have to install a Google Tag Manager and whatnot. But you don't have to have it. So campaign type, search is the only thing that's eligible in paid search. So the Google grant doesn't give you the display ads, which are those creepy ads that follow you around after you look at, a pair of pants online. You don't get those for free. Same thing with YouTube. You don't get YouTube ads for free, but it is paid search. So these are the text ads that you see when you search concerts near me, or things to do near me. So the first step, and I have to bounce around a little bit, I apologize, but I'll try to keep it to a minimum. First thing is we just put the website in and copy it straight in. You do need the HTTPS. Okay. Campaign name, I would recommend having a structure for these. So typically we would just do the name of the organization and then what kind of campaign we're building. And then in this case, I'm going to put what's called all pages, which I'll go over in a moment. So again, on our next campaign, we're going to name it very similar in there as whatnot. Okay, I had done a little practice this morning to make sure that things were going well. So we're going to skip this step. This shouldn't come up for you, but there is a draft in there because I wanted to make sure the account was working and I could get through the webinar. So we're going to do start new. Okay. Again, this is where if you have conversions set up, you could do that. It is highly recommended to use them, but it only works if you have them set up. So we're going to do clicks today. And that's going to be getting you website traffic, getting people to click on your ad, which by and large turns into website traffic. Okay. These are some buttons. These are excluded from grant accounts, so you can't actually pick these, so don't worry about them. And then location targeting, it really depends on your nonprofit. Lizzie and I have not discussed strategy, so I'm going to just make an educated guess here. For them, but if you were a statewide organization, you could do all of South Carolina. If you were just in in Charlotte, you could do just Charlotte. You could do countywide. So for Lizzie, what we're going to do here is a radius. So I'm going to change this to 130 miles, which I do realize takes her somewhere off the coast of the Atlantic in one direction, but the other directions should be pretty good. So we're just going to do 130 miles from Somerville. It's going to cover a good chunk of the region. And Lizzie may come back and say, yeah, let's do less or more, or all of South Carolina or whatnot. But that's a good start, and can be changed at any time. Okay, so again, just a couple things. Languages, you could put in other languages in there. It will default to English for you, but if you do have Spanish, you can put that in there, or other languages. Audience segments, again, this is super advanced. Don't worry about it. It's not going to let me turn on these broad match keywords right now because we don't have conversions set up. But when you do have conversions set up, I'll check the broad match for you. And what that means is if someone searches something in a keyword or search term, it means if they get close to it, it's not going to be, if someone were to type in Somerville Symphony as opposed to Somerville Orchestra, it's going to know the difference between that. The other thing I would do is click on automatic created assets. Again, this is giving Google permission to pull content from your website and create ads. Make sure you obviously own the content on your website. So if Lizzie yells at me later, I can delete this, but we're going to turn these on for now. There are more settings down here. You don't need to worry about them unless you wanted to start an end date in there. So, so if you had something that was only going to run till December 31st, like a donation campaign or something, you could do that. But by and large, you don't need to worry about that. And the campaigns we're going to start up today are more evergreen. Okay, so this is relatively new. Let me see if I can put this here. They are starting to roll out more AI features. We're going to skip this today, but you could use the AI features in here to create some of this stuff. So we're just going to skip it today, and you can skip it. So because dynamic is a very basic ad, this is kind of counterproductive or counterintuitive, but this is a dynamic ad that we're going to do first. We're going to do the more complicated ad second. We're just going to delete this ad group. Okay. And we're going to go back to skip. And we're literally going to skip ahead here. So now there's no ad group, which sounds like we're not doing anything, but I promise we'll fix it in a moment. We're going to go to budget. It will often give you options, which it had it there for a second and they disappeared, which I don't know why. But for grant accounts, what I would recommend is putting in $330 a day for each campaign. It's not going to let you overspend. Google's not going to give you more, but it gives you that option. You can have all of your campaigns. Even if you had 10 campaigns, they could all be $330 a day and Google will mix and match. There are advanced features you could do if you were using a full service agency or a paid account. Then you would pay more attention to this. But in the grant accounts, you don't need to worry about it. Just make it $330. Okay. We're going to hit next. We're almost done. So this just reviews everything in here. Okay. And we're going to publish campaign, even though it says it's broken. And we have no idea why Google makes this harder than it should be. So now we're going to go back into that campaign. We're going to see it built. Dynamic, all pages. We're going to go back into this and we're going to create an ad group. And then up here at the top, we're going to just change it to dynamic. So all of this stuff's going to go away. I would pick all web pages. So this is going to pull content off of, in theory, content off of any of the Somerville Orchestra website. So it could be even like things like employment or volunteer, even if we're not making specific campaigns for them. Okay. Save and continue. And now it's going to ask for 2 descriptions. Okay, so when my team makes these, we typically take it right off of the website. For the sake of today, I'm actually just going to use Google Gemini, Google's version of ChatGPT. And again, we'll polish these up for the orchestra with, but I'm just use Gemini to write a couple. I use both ChatGPT and Gemini, so either one's fine. You probably can't see this, but it's all right. My copy and paste isn't working. Give me a second here. Oh. So again, we're just going to put in 2 90-character descriptions, 90-ish character descriptions. If you do use ChatGPT and or something like that, you can type in and just say, write 2 90-character descriptions for paid search is what you would say. So it knows you're looking at, and that's why I use Google for these kinds of things, because Google tends to know what its rules are. But then we're just going to save and continue. And now that campaign is done. So we'll go back in, and the dynamic campaign is done. So with any luck, it has to go through an approval process, but perhaps by the end of the call, this will actually start showing impressions. It may or may not, depends on how fast Google's going right now and whatnot. Being a new account, it may not. So we're going to spend the next 10 minutes or so, and we're going to make just one more campaign. This one's a little more complicated. That was the easy one, is the bad news. But it's not too much more difficult. It's just a lot more typing. And we're not going to do all of it right now. But same thing. Go into new campaign. We're going to do website traffic. Again, if you had conversions, you would make sure that they're added. We're going to pull up her website again. Again, naming convention. So we're just going to do SO responsive. We're just going to do general. Okay, again, I started this earlier, so we're just going to skip it. Start a new one. Again, would do conversions if we had them set up properly. We're going to do clicks for now. And it's actually not uncommon with a new account. We often set up max clicks first because we just want to get traffic to the site as quickly as possible. And then we focus on peeling it back. So we'll do the radius again. You can, I will just say this, I couldn't find Low County, just where they're located. It doesn't pull up actual Low County, but many of you could. So I'm in Maricopa County here in Phoenix. So I could pick just the county if I wanted to. So that's also a good trick. If you're kind of in a major, kind of in an area or you wanted to do a couple counties. But we're just going to do Somerville for them because I can't find the county. Okay, everything else the same. Use broad match keywords, automatically created assets. I would recommend doing these. Okay, again, we're going to skip this because this is new and I'm not as much of an expert on this. My team probably could tell you, but it's just some tools they're generating to generate keywords. So now, if you recall, on the previous ad, we deleted this. We're not going to do that this time. So we actually have to do the manual work. If you put in a website here, which it's already going to pull because it knows, depending on the website, it will give you keyword suggestions. So I would imagine And I'll talk through with this with Lizzie. There's probably a reason why this isn't pulling up more, but it would pull up based on whatever page you wanted. We're just going off the home page right now. So I actually asked Google Gemini to also do some keywords for me. So I'm going to paste those in there. So we've got more. Excuse me. The best practice would be around 15 keywords per ad group. So you can probably go over if you're only doing a couple of campaigns, but you don't want to put hundreds of keywords in there. Pick your best ones, start there. Google will add them and change them, which I'll go over briefly. And then down here, Google makes it really easy. This is because this is responsive. It's basically a mix and match ad. There's two main variables, which are headlines and descriptions. So we're going to go through those. There are more. You could add in fake domain paths up here. You know, so if you wanted to do something like concerts, you know, or buy tickets, we could. I'm not going to do that right now, but you could add in something in there if you wanted to just kind of give a little bit deeper in there. The great thing about Google, though, is they do help you. So you can click on these up here, and it's going to tell you ad strength. For the sake of time, we're probably not going to get this particular ad all the way to good, which is where I would recommend. You need to be at least average because it does take some time to go back and forth. So we're not going to probably get it all the way to good, but we're going to go in and kind of show you that process. So first we're going to do is just view headlines. Okay, it's going to give me a couple that seem to make sense. Okay, buy tickets, definitely. Book now makes sense. Okay, maybe buy tickets online, but we'll leave that off for now. We'll clip it for. Okay, but then you get to go down here and you get to add whatever you want. So Somerville Orchestra, good for youth. You know, you can decide, is this a really good one or no? Buy tickets, book now. We just added those, you know, so it could be, you know, live classical music. You know, they have a great tagline here, the sound of Somerville. We're going to see if that'll fit. I think it's going to. Oh, we already have it. Oh, it's already up there. And so again, you can pick up to 15 of these. I wouldn't do all 15 at first. I'd probably do like 10 to 12 because that gives Google room to suggest more. And I'll show you where that happens in a minute. Okay. So the next thing is I could look at keywords here. Okay. Do any of these make sense? Okay. One of the tricks is, let me see if there's one of these. So certainly this is probably too long, but orchestra concerts in Somerville, you would go through and try to just incorporate these. And you would keep adding stuff, and hopefully this is going to improve. It hasn't yet, but then you go down here and there's up to 4 descriptions. So again, sorry, you can add more headlines if you want. Same thing, you can do up to 4 descriptions. So again, I'm going to go back to my friend Google Gemini here, and we're just going to do these 4, even though they're not, they're going to be, you know, these aren't going to be the 100% right, but I will clean these up for them before we hand over the account back to them. So we're just going to put in these. So we've got 3 in there. We keep adding. Again, I would play with the headlines. The goal is to watch this jump up as you fill it in. Again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into all the details. There are some things you can do. So I would recommend applying these if you can, which is going to be add images. So you can add at least 4 images. Again, these can be generic images. Same thing with your logo. You can add your business logo. And then I'm just going to briefly touch on site links. Again, I'm not going to build them all out right now, but site links are when you go into a Google search and we'll add one and you'll see. Oh, they already have some built, which is great. But I'm going to show you just kind of quickly how to create one. So for them, we're going to build one right now that is by tickets. Okay. And they use a separate system here, which is fine. So we're going to build a site link that literally just says buy tickets. I would recommend putting in a description, so both descriptions, because it will help to add quality. But so I would just type in something like, order tickets, online, they're easily online. And then we'll have a separate one, get your tickets, printed at home. Again, we'll clean this up. I'm just going off. So you can see these come up. These are site links, and you can add up to. You can actually add more of these. I think there might not even be a limit. So again, what I recommend on site links is all of your eyebrows here are great site links. So for Somerville, we will go in and probably build out most of these, if not all. So again, there's some other bells and whistles, but these are the basics on start. So we're going to jump ahead. Again, this is more or less complete. Again, we would do we're going to create that buy tickets one. And then we're just going to, oops. So we're adding all these site links now. Google will also coach you. I'm going to show you where this will show as well, but obviously we kind of went through this quickly and didn't spend a ton of time on quality, which I will fix. It's going to give you tips on how to make your ads even better. And I'll talk about why that's important at the end. But again, so that's more or less done. Okay, again, budget $330. Okay, good. So again, it will tell you over here if there's any errors, if you made any critical errors over here on the side. It'll also give you tips in here. So we're done with this one. I'm going to hit publish. So now both of those campaigns are done and live. Hello. Where'd our dynamic one go? Okay, I don't know what I did with the dynamic campaign. Okay, well, I obviously did something wrong there. I think I might have gone back into the same. I don't know what I did. It may show up here too, because it was there. We all looked at it.
Did your time frame change, perhaps?
It shouldn't be a difference. It should just show them.
Oh.
We'll come check on it in a minute. But again, this is why you would do that. You would go in and check. I may have overridden it when I went back in. I don't think I did that, but I might have. Or to see if it's still hiding in drafts. No. I suspect it will come back, but. So that is how you build two of the basic campaigns. And I'll walk through our strategy, or the strategy that we deploy for our clients in a moment. But I do want to go in. I'm going to go into a different account. Thank you, Lizzie and Somerville, for letting us poke around in your account. I'm going to go to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona, because I know they don't mind if I show their account. So this is an account we've been working with them. They were actually our second client, so we've been working with them for almost 3 years now. And Big Brothers Big Sisters, I'm assuming most of you know what they are, but they're a youth servicing organization. But I'm going to walk through their account. And so once you have your accounts live, one, I would not worry about micromanaging them too much. Make sure that you've got all of the things taken care of, any recommendations, anything like that, but let the account run for a good 30 to 120 days. You want to get a couple thousand people, hopefully, on your website through the grant, because Google's going to learn every time that happens. But let's assume it's a couple months from now, your accounts are working, they're running live, you've got the conversion set up. You can just log into your account once a week and go in here and do a couple of basic things. One is just look at recommendations. No, of course they don't have any. That means my team's doing their job, which is good. Let me see if I can find another one. Okay, so here we go. So this is a organization, Bloom 365. They do domestic violence prevention in schools and military communities. Pretty cool organization. And they're just going to walk you through tips on here. The ones I would worry about are responsive search ads and keywords. If it talks about bid strategy, there's a bunch of advanced features that Google will recommend because it treats it like a paid account. So a lot of these things Google recommends are kind of ways that they want you to spend more money if you were a paid account. So you can just ignore these and you can just literally just skip them or leave them there. You can easily dismiss them. You can just say whatever you want, I'll do it later. But in this case, we could log in. It's a nominal improvement, so my team probably just skip this over for right now. But you can go back in and it'll actually just bring you in here. It's going to bring up their ad. So we've got one of their ads that's average. So we probably should look at this. It's going to give me these ideas. And now we can go in and adjust keywords or headlines to try to get that boosted up to be a little bit more effective. Same thing, you can look at individual campaigns here to show like which ones are performing better. So for example, when I said, this is one of our accounts that the dynamic campaign is their best campaign. They have a lot of great content on their website, but their responsive campaign does pretty well too. And then the last thing I'll show you is in assets here. I'm sorry, not assets, they moved it. So you can look at your keywords down here. Keywords are the words you put in. And then Google can also add them if you let it. So you can go in here and look and see which keywords are working to see if they're effective. I would tell you to focus more on the insights and reports and focus on search terms. And you can actually download this. So this is just the last 30 days, but we could pull this data from all the way back to the beginning of the year or the last calendar year or the last fiscal year, however we want. And we could download this report and give it to our web person or our copywriter. Because these are what people are actually searching. These are the search terms are what people are actually typing into the website. So that is step 3, is just kind of overseeing and managing your account. This is, again, just kind of a nudge to show you that it's not as scary as it is. I'll give you some resources on the end. YouTube is a great resource if you get stuck. You can always email me for questions. But YouTube's a great resource. I had to use it this morning to confirm those dynamic campaigns. But before we log out of this, I'll just quickly go back and see if their account came back. The campaigns go. No, okay. Yeah, okay, it's back. I don't know what happened there. It is not working yet. It's still learning. This one's still under review. This one is now live, so they could start getting impressions. So I will go back to my PowerPoint really fast and we'll finish out and then open up for questions. All right. Okay. Okay, so step 3 is just going in and managing in there. Google Ads are an auction. Probably could have started with Google Ads are an auction. So every time someone puts in a search, Google is anybody who's willing to bid, whether it's a grant account or a paid account, competes in this auction. And it's a function of a variety of things. It's how much will you bid and your ad quality score. As evil as we think Google is, I do believe Google genuinely wants people to find stuff on the internet as quickly and as accurately as possible. So Google's really good at intent. Google's really good about knowing that. This is why you don't see ads that are typically too far off from what you're looking for. They're really good at it. But it is an auction. And so in order to be competitive, you do have to have quality ads as part of that. There's a lot of bells and whistles you can do. You're not going to compete with, the ticket masters of the world in your community, and things like that. But you do get to compete, at least to an extent. You're not going to outwin everything. Google's not going to give you away the farm, but they will give you some of this inventory for free. And that's what the Google Grant Program is. So it can be effective. I will say, well, let me just go through these and then I'll say a couple other things. So a couple tips. One is, this is really hard to do internally. Please feel free to try and get started. But if you have the budget, I would certainly, even if it's not my company, I would explore looking at an agency or a consultant who can help you. I would start with your web company or whoever, if you have a web company or a digital agency that helps with social media or anything like that, I would ask them first. I would recommend, if you do start to go down that route, try to find someone who has nonprofit experience, because the grant is a little quirky. And we've taken over several clients from full service reputable agencies here in Phoenix that could not get it to work. And these agencies will come to us and be like, we hear you know how to make this work. And so we've done that a couple of times. I'm a big fan of incremental improvements. So again, get started, start getting the ads to work, and then just try to slowly make them better over time if you're going to do it yourself. There are a lot of free or cheap resources on YouTube. You can kind of troubleshoot one issue, an issue with dynamic campaigns or ad groups or things like that. Udemy has a bunch of courses. This is one I just put one of my people through. So we'll get these slides out. But just make sure that it's from 2024. If you go to Udemy, they're like $15 if you time it right. You can get a full course that's like hours and hours long, that you can go through over time. But just make sure that it's from 2024 because this stuff changes literally every month. So get it as close to now as possible. And then, as we talked about, definitely spend the time and energy to learn how to do conversions and tracking with Google Tag Manager. You might need help from your web person to get up and running, but at least set up some basic stuff like page views, a few donation clicks, a few main, email signups. And then lastly on there, use max conversions once you get them set up, because your ads will perform much better when you do that. And we'll get all those set up for Somerville and Lizzie in the next couple of days, but if she wants. But and then I think that is it. So my company, what we do is we basically do those 2 campaigns that we just built for you. Our basic service is that we do those 2 campaigns for you, and then we do a 3rd campaign based on whatever the most important conversion action for you is. So in Somerville's case, or orchestra case, it's probably going to be buy tickets. And that's all we do. Is it's very simple 3 campaign structure. We charge, depending on how big of an organization you are, $149 to $399 a month. A full service agency is typically around $1,000. So we call our model like the Netflix version. It's not everything, but we automate a lot. We simplify reporting, but it's Netflix. So if you really want to watch House of Dragon, you're going to have to get HBO. And then we do an offer for any Together SE member. We will do free setup, and then we'll do the first 2 months free. And so that's typically at least a $750 value. And we also have a referral program. So if it's not right for you right now, but you're like, oh, I know an organization or someone you used to work for, we'll either pay you in free extra months or pay the whoever referred. So, and again, we're always happy to talk at no obligation or charge. If you get stuck getting it, if you're stuck in your account or you got logged out 3 years ago and you don't remember how to get in, or something, we know most of the tricks to help you get access, and we'll do that at any time at no charge, because we just think this is a really generous program and we want nonprofits to use it. Lastly, here's my contact information. So feel free to email me or connect with me on LinkedIn. And then that is it. So I hope that was beneficial for you. I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint and just, I'll go to me for a minute, but I have a feeling we'll probably end up back in the Google Ads. So if you want to use the raise your hand feature or type it in the chat, I'll get the chat ready to go. Susan, I see your hand up. Susan.
Yeah, we actually have a service that is, they do a number of ads for us, but it seems as if we have difficulty, getting a lot of click-throughs and things like that. We end up spending our 10,000 usually, but sometimes it's not always in the area, that we want it to be in, or we've really had poor luck with donations and things, which I just don't know if that is, if that's just something difficult. I was curious, because of someone who's just looking for something, they don't know who you are. You know what I'm saying? I was curious your thoughts. Maybe I'll just ask that about donations.
Yeah, on the first part, if you're happy with your organization, a couple of things I would just recommend is one, focus on click-through rates and cost per click. You want your click-through rate above 5%. That's a Google guideline. You're technically supposed to have it in the Google grant account. And they're probably doing that. And then click-through, and typically we like to see it up to kind of about 20% for most accounts. Cost per click, kind of the same thing. I like to see it healthy overall for an account in the $5 to $15 range. Anything in that range is healthy. You typically don't see above 15 because Google's not going to give away that much free inventory. But if you're pushing double digits, you're in a good spot. You bring up a really good point. 2 things on agencies to be aware of. And again, I don't do this. There's a lot of amazing agencies out there who do what we do and more. And I can refer you to others as well that I would put my name behind. But a couple things to it. One is you hit on a really good point, which is run the report, or have them run the report on where your ads are serving, because it's really easy to fake the $10,000 a month. At my company, we don't care. I won't say we don't care, but we do not focus on the dollar amount of free ads. We focus on quality. I would much rather get a client $2,000 of the right ads than $5,000 of junk. So definitely run that report. And if they're serving out of your area, I've taken over accounts where they're serving like overseas. We took over a US based client, and really just in a couple of states, and 84% of their website traffic was coming from Iran. And so that was doing them no good. It was actually doing them harm, because they're getting a bunch of inquiries from Iran, and they don't serve Iran. And then the second thing I'll caution on is I would also try to, for grant accounts, I would try to avoid agencies that charge a percentage. Kind of for the exact same reason, is the incentive is misaligned. The incentive is to spend as much as possible, not to get you the right traffic. So hopefully that answered your question. As far as donations, true, full disclosure, I always tell people that Google Ad Grant is amazing at a lot of things. donations is not one of them. With the exception of the Ice Bucket Challenge, online donations are hard. Like,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
you know,
But,
um,
oh, can
what-
I just ask you, so are you able to get more like 2-digit, like we're more at like 7 or 8, so two digit like clicks or whatever, click-throughs is good. It's really high.
yeah, well, it can be, if it's too high, that could be bad. If it's too high, that means they're just doing easy ads and not doing like acquisition. So if it's over 20%, like for the month, I would be a little suspicious.
No, ours are like 7 or 7 or 8.
that's very-
like that. So I was just curious. I'm sorry. I'm trying to learn to see if we're, where we need to be, because you guys seem really good.
Yeah, it's very healthy. That's a very healthy number. So as long as they're getting it kind of in your geographic area and you're happy with them, then there's no reason to change. But we're always happy to talk about it, but
I have another question. Do you have to spend? I always thought you had to spend a certain amount or have a certain number of clicks so that you wouldn't lose the account. Is that really true? Because I heard that like when we first started a billion years ago, when it nearly killed us. It seemed like it was harder to do this, to open it, but maybe it was the same. I just was terrible at it. But
the early, if people who were involved in like the 2000, like early 2000s up to like 2010, 12, it was a different program. It was more onerous. There were a lot more rules. They've basically gotten rid of most of those. They really just want it to be quality, but worst case is if you don't use your account for a couple of years, they'll deactivate it, but it's a very simple process to reactivate it. So, great.
I also
Kayla,
have a
yeah,
question.
Kayla. Go ahead,
Oops,
Kayla.
sorry.
Yeah.
And I put this in the chat too, but one of my questions is more pertains to everyone, which is if you have multiple campaigns running, do you still set the budget to $330 per day and then it kind of runs in the background and optimizes it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then my second question, maybe a little bit more specific to us, but our foundation supports a museum that's a state agency, but like the membership program lives under the foundation. And so I'm just curious if you have encountered any other similar, organizations where, we're the nonprofit and we are the 501c3, but we live on a website that's actually a state agency. And is there any kind of limitations to AdWords with that?
Again, we've explored it with some state agencies like historical societies, and no one's actually signed up with us yet from that. Again, what I would recommend is apply, or if you already have it as a 501c3. There are ways to request alternative domains. So I would do that, and again, we can help you with that. So I would try. I can't say for certain. I give it a 50-50 chance it's going to work. But if you get approved for the grant, you're halfway there, and then it's we can try to get the domain approved to let us at least do that.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, great. I'm not seeing other hands. Let me go through this chat here. Yes, we will send out the slides. I did see that in there as well. Am I missing any questions? Email, yeah. What did I say about the use of conversion bidding? So conversions, you just want to make sure that once you get your ad set up, you want to at least go back in and try to spend some time with the conversion tracking and try to set up a handful of conversions. Again, it can be really simple, like page views. We'll just use Somerville Orchestra as an example. I would want one on their buy tickets link, and on their donation link, and maybe their calendar page. Maybe their newsletter sign up is a little more advanced. They will take a little bit more time. That's a little more tech savvy. You're going to need someone who knows your website and can do some of that more advanced feature. But once they're in place, you don't really have to do much with them. Susan's asking, do we use keywords? Yes, on those responsive campaigns, you use keywords. You might remember I pulled that out of Gemini and pulled about 15 keywords for Somerville Orchestra and put those in that ad group. Low country, that's why. Okay, thank you. Oh, there's Lizzie. Hi, Lizzie. Nice to meet you. Are the search terms, what what the audience is typing in. Yes, search terms are the actual search terms that people are searching for. Keywords are the words you put on the back end kind of to help feed the beast of Google. Is it difficult to do fundraising on Google Ads? Yes. What I would say is Google Ads is really good about, one, helping people find you. You know, people don't always remember like what your name is, you know, especially if you've got kind of a, you know, a lengthy name, or, you know, Big Brothers Big Sisters is a great example. No one remembers how, you know, Big Brothers Big Sisters is in that order. You know, if they get searched both ways, backwards. So one, Google Ads is really good at just helping people find you that are already looking for you. And then two, it's really good about helping raise awareness and kind of build your funnel. So getting people onto your website to watch a video, to download your newsletter, or to sign up for your newsletter, to download a piece of content. It is less effective for donations. We do see it pretty well with ticket sales, and we do see some donation engagement. So good question. Recording, I think we answered that. Memory matters. Yeah, reach out to us, reach out to me, and we can help you figure out where you're stuck in the process. It sounds like I know what your issue is already, and it is a quirk in Google, but we do have a workaround for that. My email is Todd. I'll put it in the chat. Todd@elihub.com. And then I'm just Todd Vigil on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find.
Well, thank you, Todd, so much. I'm so ready to dive in and get our Google grant started, but I'll probably be contacting you soon. But this has been great. We really appreciate you giving us your time. And now we know a little bit more. It's demystified a little bit more. Everyone, when you're signing off, you'll get a survey. Please take a second to fill out our survey, and we'll see you guys soon.